Welcome to our viewers in Nigeria and across the world. Lunchtime politics begins right now. President Tinubu meets northern governors as Nigeria shuts border with Niger. The waiting game is now on. The next move for ECOWAS as the deadline given to the Niger military junta elapses. Two more ministerial nominees to go as Senate winds down on the week-long screening of President Tinubu's prospective cabinet members. Nigerians await their verdict. And the political feud between Governor Godwin Obaseki of Edo State and his deputy, Philip Shaibu, reaches fever pitch as speculations mount on a possible move to oust Mr. Shaibu from the State Assembly. We begin with our top story. President Bola Tinubu has met with 5 northern governors who share a border with Niger Republic at the State House in Abuja. The meeting, which held late last night, was part of consultations by the president on the situation in Niger. Though details of the meeting were not made public, it is coming as ECOWAS and other member states imposed a border closure on Niger. The governors who met the president at Aso are the governor of Sokoto State, Ahmed Aliyu, Governor Umar Namadi of Jigawa, Mai Malabuni of Yobe State, Idris Nasir of Kebbi, and Governor Dikorada of Katsina State. It is also not clear what the next move will be for the Economic Community of West Africa States, ECOWAS, under the leadership of President Tinubu, after the body had threatened military action against Niger with a deadline that expired yesterday. Now, following the expiration of that ultimatum to the military junta in Niger Republic to relinquish control and restore ousted President Mohamed Bazoum to power, the Arawa Youth Consultative Forum is warning the regional body led by President Bola Tinubu and the African Union against the use of military force under coup plotters. The forum also appeals to the coup leaders to immediately commence the transitional arrangements to restore the country back to democratic governance within 1 year, noting that military rule is no longer fashionable in Africa.
The fact of the matter is that we know it's going to be a case of 2 elephants fighting and the grass suffer for it. That's what is likely to happen. Some of us, even before now, we foresee that the war to be declared in Nigeria might not be too good for the country. But specifically, northern part of the country will become the direct victim of this war. And that's why some of us caution the National Assembly, the Hollow Chamber. We cannot allow or encourage any senator from northern part of this country to support this motion. And if he does that, some of us will be left with no option than to see him as enemy of the North. So we are watching with keen interest, and I thank God at the level of Northern Senators Forum, they make their position very clear yesterday, and I hope it remains that way. We will not accept anybody dragging us, so already we have a lot of problems at hand. Don't forget the issue of insecurity. We are already going through it. We have not overcome the challenge of insecurity, the hunger, the removal of fuel subsidy, the agitation from the southeast, and so on and so forth. The country is almost getting to its nail with all of this burden. And now, if you now bargain for this war, last, Nigeria is likely going to bankroll this war.
Well, the military or the coup situation in Niger is not the only challenge confronting President Bola Tinubu. The issue of governance right here in Nigeria is, of course, on the front burner. And over at the National Assembly, 2 more ministerial nominees are expected to take the stand before the Senate as the ministerial screening enters its 2nd week. But those up for screening are Dr. Maria Bonkore, who replaced Mariam Shetty from Kano State, and Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Festus Keyamo from Delta State. The Red Chamber had screened 5 nominees over the weekend on Saturday, making it a total of 46 nominees screened so far, and 2 more to go. Well, after the screening, the Senate is expected to communicate its decision on the ministerial nominees to the President.
The Senate returns to plenary on Saturday for the screening of the 7 remaining ministerial nominees. The nominee from Lagos, Mrs. Lola Adejon, is the first to be screened. A financial and ICT expert, Mrs. Adejon promises to bring her wealth of experience to the table in the new administration if confirmed by the Senate. While she's poised to answer questions from legislators, a lawmaker is emphatic that she be asked to take a bow and exit the stage.
My career spans, as you can see, the oil and gas industry, as well as the banking and financial services, both local and international.
Distinguished colleagues, we need a Lola in this government. Lola is brilliant. Lola is good. Let Lola go. Let Lola breathe. Thank you.
Next up is a ministerial nominee from Ogun State, Mr. Isiaq Salako. A medical doctor by training, Mr. Salako offers solutions to the brain drain in the health sector.
Job satisfaction, the environment that you work with, the equipment to work with, is also a very important element in encouraging people to leave the country. I believe in tackling the brain drain issue, we need to look at that.
The screening session turns dramatic when it gets to the turn of another nominee from Ogun State, Mr. Bosun Tijani. A federal lawmaker, Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari, brings to the attention of his colleagues tweets made by Mr. Tijani, which he finds distasteful. He demands an explanation from the nominee.
On the 21st of July 2019, Dr. Bosun tweeted, let me quote it exactly from the way he put it. Nigeria is a bloody expensive tag to have against your name. Leave patriotism for a minute. That tag is bloody waste of time and energy, but a country. End of quote.
I was in the UK and I was trying to apply for my Chinese visa because I did not need visa to every other country. I got to the embassy and I was told that it would take me 2 days to get my Chinese visa. I was excited. And the gentleman said, "What do you do? Where's your pay slip?" I said, "I run my business." He says, "We have to see your bank account statement." I said, "I'm happy to provide it, but my business is fully domiciled in Nigeria." The moment I mentioned Nigeria, the gentleman said they have to do a special check on me, and it was going to take minimum 2 weeks. In anger, I tweeted what you read, which was paraphrased wrongly.
However, a federal lawmaker comes to his aid.
Let me speak in pidgin English. Sometimes in this country they choke. They choke us. Sometimes when young people tweet what they tweet and they express their frustration on social media, I want you to know that we are doing this out of the love that we have for this country.
It's not yet uhuru for Mr. Tijani, as the Senate minority leader digs up another tweet supposedly made by the nominee. However, help comes in the form of a Senate majority leader.
What sort of checks are done by at the Nigerian Senate when they confirm appointees and the media? Question for another day. Until we ask the right questions, these morons will continue to take us for granted.
We need to move on with this generation. We need to put this behind us. So, of course, if he said anything that I shouldn't have said, he's here to apologize.
I want to profusely apologize to everyone in this hall, including anyone anywhere in Nigeria that may have been offended about everything I said. I ask that you please, in the process of accepting my apology, that you look at the undertone of everything I've said.
After apologizing, Mr. Tijani is subsequently left off the hook, and the upper chamber goes on to screen other nominees. Hours later, the Senate steps down the screening of 2 ministerial nominees until Monday, August 7th. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
Well, there is some anxiety in the political scene in Edo State, South Nigeria, as the feud between Governor Godwin Obaseki and his deputy Philip Shaibu takes on another dimension. Well, the deputy governor had approached the Federal High Court in Abuja. According to court papers, he sought an order stopping the move by the governor to impeach him over their irreconcilable differences, a request which was granted by Justice Ahmed Mohammed. However, there are reports that there may be plans to go ahead with impeachment proceedings against him at the State Assembly, allegedly on the orders of the governor. But sources in the government refute the reports and claim that it is a narrative concocted from the camp of the deputy governor. So let's bring you some more perspectives to some of the major issues we have raised today. The situation in Niger Republic, the ministerial screening, which of course sticks out for a lot of Nigerians and perhaps a political impasse in Edo State. We're joined by Professor Nwako Martins, who of course has extensive background. He has researched extensively in the areas of African diplomacy, international relations, political economy, and terrorism. Joins us virtually on the program this afternoon. He's the Dean of Humanities at Imo State University. Thank you for joining us on the program, Professor.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you very much. Thank you.
Great to have you, Prof. You have extensive background, as I said earlier, on areas of African diplomacy, international relations, political economy. So you understand why we would want to get your perspective first on the situation in Niger. The deadline has since elapsed. The president met with northern governors. Most of them share a border with Niger. And we understand that, of course, Nigeria has shut its border against Niger. But particularly about the next move for ECOWAS, whether or not to engage that military action. I wonder what your thoughts are, because when we saw the coups in Mali, in Guinea, in Burkina Faso, a lot of people said ECOWAS did not do much in the aftermath of those coups. And now ECOWAS is putting military action on the table, but we've seen people say, well, that is not the right way to go. So how do you expect ECOWAS really to go about this issue?
Thank you very much for this. I have to be sincere about this. ECOWAS is taking a very good move to bring back democracy in the sub-region, but military option is not the best. One, the economy of most West African states cannot bear the brunt of carrying out a military option now. First, the primary
All right, Prof, we'll come back to you. It looks like we're having a major challenge with the internet connection. So we'll definitely come back to get your insights. And this is a very important topic. But let's talk more about the ministerial screening, governance in Nigeria. Well, the likely inauguration of the members of President Tinubu's cabinet is expected in a couple of days. And expectations abound that President Tinubu should consider competency and the pedigree of the ministers designated, announcing or assigning portfolios to them, especially in the key ministries that are crucial to the country's rapid economic growth. So before we continue the conversation with Prof, let's take a look at this report as Channels Television sampled opinions of Nigerians across different walks of life in different regions of the country on their expectations. We'll take a listen.
As the screening of ministerial nominees winds down, Nigerians are setting an agenda for the incoming cabinet members.
Clarified and take about.
In Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, a cross-section of residents who spoke to Channels Television say security reports of the nominees is necessary. Their track records and especially the vision of President Bola Tinubu must drive the choice to fix those appointed into various ministries.
It's not about individual. It's not about the past assignment they have engaged in, but it depends on the vision of the president itself.
Some Port Harcourt residents want President Bola Tinubu to put round pegs in round holes to ensure maximum effectiveness and efficiency in listing the designation of the ministerial nominees.
Our refineries have not worked for how many years right now, and that's the core of the problem we're having right now. If our refineries were working at optimal capacity, We don't need to import petrol into this country, and at the end of the day, we won't pay subsidy. Now that subsidy has been removed, you see the hardship is causing for people. We want somebody with that sagacity that will push the refineries to work immediately.
And from Benin City, the Edo State capital, public affairs analysts who share their opinions believe the nominees are mostly qualified. However, prerogatives should sway towards policies rather than technicalities.
Economy is there. We're just talking about withdrawal of subsidy now, and most Nigerians are reeling under the yoke of hardship, economic hardship. So we may also look for the gurus amongst them who will be able to devise very good measures to address our situation.
Nigerians want a lot positive result, pragmatic result, progressive result, dynamic result. So we need this kind of people that we believe are not self-centered.
For a country faced with several socio-economic challenges, there are high expectations that the minister-designate will hit the ground running immediately after their inauguration. The president of Arewa Youth Consultative Forum, Yerima Shetima, expects that the key ministries such as power, works, should be headed by technocrats and nominees with the antecedents of performance and experience of governance.
You have likes of El-Rufai, who've seen what he has done in Kaduna. If you man him somewhere, like in the area of powers, I have no doubt in my mind we're likely going to experience something very beautiful.
And in the Federal Capital Territory, Samson Itodo and Amzad Lawal say they expected more representation of youth, women, and persons with disabilities on the ministerial list. They want the president to put political sentiment aside and assign persons with credibility and requisite experience to serve when assigning portfolios to the ministerial nominees.
Yes, we know that some people on the list got on the list because they worked for his victory. And, you know, politically, you have to ensure that you ensure loyalty is covered. And then you have people who are technocrats who have skills and capacity and vast experience. So Mr. President must ensure that balance.
We don't know how the president is going to engage with his ministers. And what is really critical is that he's got to set, you know, KPIs. He's got to hold them to certain contracts. And if they don't perform, he's got to show them the exit door. The second critical thing that Nigerians are actually looking at is whether these individuals that have been appointed are truly committed to the Nigerian project. And it's critical, the Nigerian project, because we're grappling, you know, with polarization, with, divisions across different lines. And these ministers must help the president foster national unity and integration.
The ministers designate have no portfolios attached to them by the president yet. The Senate has screened 46 out of the nominees, and 2 additional names sent by the president are yet to be screened.
We'll take a break now, and when we return, we'll rejoin our guest who joins us virtually on some of these major political issues unfolding both in Nigeria and across the region. Stay with us. You're welcome back. Let's rejoin Professor Nwako Martins, the Dean of Humanities, Imo State University. He joins us virtually. Prof, we had to fix that connection, and I do hope that it's working well now. So please land on the point you were making about the situation in Niger before we then get into the, the cabinet of President Bola Tinubu.
Thank you very much. The issue of Niger, as I was saying, it would be a dangerous mistake for ECOWAS to do that, but they cannot fund it. Because the economy of most West African states is already dead. And if ECOWAS as a union goes for that war, they're going to fight 2 major powers, France and Russia. It's enough they back out and go for diplomacy. Moreover, it's dangerous because Niger is bordering between 3 major states in Nigeria, Sokoto, Kaduna, and Zamfara and Katsina. These are states that are basically involved in a web of insecurity. And also, Niger is bounded by Libya and Chad by the 2 sides. So going to war or any military implication in Niger will not be fair and not be easy for ECOWAS as a nation and as a movement or as an economy. The solution now is where ECOWAS move into massive diplomacy negotiation between the military junta. Personally, I don't call it military junta. It's a change, it's a shift. Nigeria is the poorest country in the world. And I wonder what the interest may be for France and Russia, if not uranium. So it may be a very dangerous trade to come into West Africa. So I suggest everyone should go for negotiation, bargaining. But asking the military to get back the prison that was being held, I don't think it's necessary. They should ask for a soft landing. Thank you.
It's better to, as I say, Georgia than to war. But that's not the only challenge right in front of President Bola Tinubu. It's not just a regional challenge he's facing. He's also facing challenges with governance in Nigeria, the economy, security, and the rest. The population of Nigeria alone is almost ×2 of the population of other ECOWAS countries put together. So Nigeria is in itself, honestly, almost a region, really, if you look at the numbers. So the ministerial screening has, well, it's literally done. 2 more nominees to go. But the big question about just how the president should form his cabinet, what you expect to see, what Nigerians expect to see to get dividends of democracy is what we'll be looking to now. With your experience, what are your expectations from President Bola Tinubu?
Thank you. I must thank you for this question, but I must have to start from this dimension. One, I'm not impressed by nominating ministerial appointees that are signing them portfolios. I'm even surprised and shocked that senators are asking questions above board and under the board, not knowing questions to ask. If a nominee comes out and is explained and exposed that we're going to have power, questions be asked about power, because power in Nigeria is over. There's no electricity, and someone is being picked for security, is being asked for security, there's insecurity. So for me, I think the nominees are more of political appointees, and I don't think they're good to be minister, because for now they don't have portfolios. A minister should know where we're being assigned to, and the question should be handled that way. But the way it is, we still expect the best, because over the years, we've been baking on hopes and moving on things of it can be well, it will be well. But then I must speak about the economy. We talked about Nigeria having the largest population in West Africa and Africa as a whole. Yes. And Nigeria's economy is not good to have more than 36 ministers, because the issue is now we must cut governance. If you cut governance, you send the money outside to somewhere that we have employment, health, and education. Now, having more than 42 ministers is uncalled for. Absolutely is uncalled for, because we are increasing the expenditure in governance at the same time, making governance and politics more flamboyant and exorbitant for the nation. So I think I wish them the best, but I don't think having more ministers than ever is the best for Nigeria now. And if you look at the issues now in state, one is drug subsidy, cost of food, cost of transportation, even fees have been added in tertiary institutions. And then things are not good, not good. So I should suggest the minister should be thrown back, maybe between a state one and maybe with FCT 38-40, going to 47-48 at the same time. It's not a welcome idea. It's not a welcome idea. Thank you.
Well, it will be quite interesting to see how the president maneuvers this particular issue, because I think one of the major demands, I would say, from not just the opposition, but from Nigerians will be cutting the cost of governance. So we'll look to see. But realistically speaking, what we hear from government is that, well, it takes a lot to run government and the parastatals. Yes, there's the Orosanye report, which we expected that the previous government will have acted on, but after at least 2 committees, well, that report has not been implemented yet. We wait to see what this government will do. But being realistic, so how then would you expect those government agencies, the government machinery to run without those ministers?
Thank you. You see, I have to be frank here. Our problem in Nigeria and most pastors, as you say, that we have failed to use reports. We have failed to inculcate committee reports and recommendations. I know these pastors and ministries can work without ministers. Yes, because ministers for now are political appointees. Political appointees. I think they are experts in the ministries, seasoned administrators whose work are basically to work on the civil service. You've mentioned two committees, two panels already with reports on how to cut excessiveness in governance. Let this government welcome a lot of things. Let them take in one of these recommendations on how to cut costs on governance. If we have 4 ministers under housing, power, transportation, and this, the money will also be much. The way it is now, they should bring down, they should cut down, they should minimize costs on governance. Because the economy cannot bear it. For the past 19 years, go down the statistics. You believe with me that the economy of Nigeria is going down, nosediving.
The government has even confirmed that and has given reasons for even removing subsidies, saying the country cannot afford it. But I would like to thank you so much. I'm glad we were able to have this conversation regardless of the glitches. Professor Nwaka Martins Uchenna is Dean of Humanities at the Imo State University. Thank you so much for your time on the program. Let's just take this one as we wind down on the show. The People's Democratic Party's senatorial candidate for Lagos West in the last general elections, Segun Adewale, says he is rejecting the tribunal judgment made on July the 27th. Mr. Adewale claims he never abandoned his petition at the Election Petition Tribunal, as highlighted by the panel in its ruling, expressing his resolve to file an appeal against the tribunal's judgment.
We never abandoned the petition. Our petition is strong, and we have a reason why we should not give up, because the election was won, and I was wrong, and we have evidences to show that we won the election. And apart from that too, the person representing APC was not qualified, academically. So there's no reason for me to give up. The judgment came as a shock to us, because we have all the necessary details that will give us victory at the court. But the judge just refused to look at what is on his table and decided to give judgment based on technicalities. And even those technicalities that the judge based his judgment upon is not even in consonance with the law of our nation, and we will challenge it.
Well, that's the program for this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Kayode Okikele. Goodbye.